Just driving into the Golden Spike National Historical Park here in Utah. Lies just to the north of the Great Salt Lake. You can see a solar farm here. And also Northrop Grumman doing a lot of stuff, I guess. So just for some background, the Golden Spike National Historical Park commemorates the site where the transcontinental railroad was completed, where the eastern segment and the western segment met up in Utah. So we'll see that specific spot a little later. A sharp eye can still pick out the marks of early railroad building along this rugged escarpment, even if the original iron rails and timber ties themselves are gone. These fading remnants tell the story of a daunting engineering challenge, linking the western states to the rest of the nation. Inscribed here amid the sagebrush and bedrock of northern Utah is a tale of grand dreams and brute work, greed and glory. What's interesting is that it says here to join Utah and California to the eastern states meant laying tracks across 1,776 miles of deserts, mountains, and plains. That's 1776. That's an interesting coincidence. 1776, also the year that this nation was founded. So these tracks laid a territory wider than all of Europe. Quite the task. Here it reads, on the weathered hillside above you are the footprints of fierce rivals straining for the finish line in the greatest race of the 19th century. The stakes were high. I like that. That's a good pun, because stakes, you know. Each mile of track laid down meant enormous land grants and hefty federal subsidies. Blasting up from California came the Central Pacific Railroad, led by 4 eminent Sacramento businessmen with 10,000 Chinese laborers. Eastern money and rough immigrant track gangs pushed the Union Pacific Railroad out of Omaha, Nebraska, barreling across the plains and through the Rockies. Both competitors had one last obstacle, the ascent of the Promontory Mountains. You can see the Promontory Mountains over there, although the air quality is not very good today. We're under high pressure, so there's a bit of an inversion trapping particulates near the surface. But those are the Promontory Mountains over there. It was the steepest grade east of the Sierra Nevada out in California. In the midst of this tough grade was the unavoidable 500-foot wide Spring Creek Ravine. By the spring of 1869, both railroads hurtled over this ravine, each making the leap in its own way. So it's interesting, both of the companies, they got over here. They got all the way to Utah. One came from California, one came from Nebraska. And then they kind of just went past each other, going their own way. And you can see what they did up there. Just the remnants of what was there. It's kind of hard to see from this angle, and maybe we'll get a better view in a little bit, but there was 2 routes through this ravine. The Union Pacific built a wooden trestle over the ravine, and the Central Pacific filled it in with sediment. And that's what they ended up using. They ended up using the Central Pacific's track through the ravine. The wooden trestle was not stable, apparently. It was hastily built. So anyways, the 2 companies, they kind of parallel their tracks in this area, but they're actually joined officially at Last Spike site. That was on May 10th of 1869. That's where the Union Pacific and Central Pacific rails were joined. All right, now let's get a closer look at the Big Fill, which is the site where the Central Pacific charted a course across a ravine here, and also right next to where the Union Pacific built their wooden trestle, which does not exist anymore. Scratch that. Did not anticipate this much snow here, so I don't have the right footwear. But anyways, you can take this trail to see the Big Phil up close and personal. This is the site that was the most difficult and intricate portion of the railroad line west of Weber Canyon and east of Donner Pass. So it was a daunting task. The mountains to the east are the Wasatch Mountains. They're a little hard to see right now, though, because of the rather poor air quality that I mentioned earlier. Just want to say that I've seen several birds of prey so far in this area, so if you like bird watching or hawks or falcons specifically, then you'll like this place. I just made it to the visitor center here. Oh, I remember seeing this picture in my history textbook as a kid. It is quite sad. It says here, railroads advertised trips to hunt bison by rail. Men fired from train roofs or windows and left countless animals dead. Reportedly, the slaughter only stopped when there was no more ammunition or the guns were too hot. Bison killing contests were held, with one record set by a man who massacred 120 bison in just 40 minutes. They killed all sorts of bison from the trains and just left their carcasses there to rot on the plains. Such a waste. Very sad.
Miles of track across the Nevada desert. With the United States Congress from opposite directions.
Interesting tidbit, 90% of the workforce for the Central Pacific Railroad was Chinese. So in the summertime, they actually do reenactments. They have locomotives out here, real steam locomotives out here, and they do a reenactment of the drilling of the Golden Spike, where the Union Pacific and Central Pacific Railroads met here to complete the first transcontinental railroad. All right, I think right over here is the site where the railroad was completed. Okay, but where is the Golden Spike? Is that even a thing? Not sure where that is. All right, well, that was the Golden Spike National Historical Park. I feel a little swindled because the OG Golden Spike is not here. It's in a museum in Palo Alto, California. So, yeah, I'd like to come back in the summertime when they do the reenactments with the steam locomotives, but until then, this will have to suffice. There's the Wasatch Mountains in the distance. This is the Bear River. The Bear River is the largest inflow to the Great Salt Lake. Got a beaver right here in the Bear River. So I'm in the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge right now. It's a great place to see bald eagles and lots of other birds, but I've already seen like 5 bald eagles here just in the past few minutes from this little perch. So the Bear River, seen right here, is the longest river in North America that doesn't end up in the ocean. The water just flows into the Great Salt Lake, which is a terminal basin, so all the water there either evaporates or goes into the ground and never reaches the ocean. It's kind of a fun little fact about the Bear River. It starts in Utah and ends in Utah, but also goes through parts of Wyoming and Idaho. So it's a neat river. It's heavily used for irrigation and very, very regulated. Lots of dams and diversions and whatnot. Anyways, a very pretty place just south of the town of Corinne in Utah, north of the Great Salt Lake. Like a river of birds.